everybody, welcome to another episode of Chamber Chat. I got a very special guest with me in the car today, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we'll kick it off from there.
Hey, thanks. This is Gardner, the CEO of Viewplus Technologies.
So, for the dozens of people who watch these things, what is Viewplus Technologies?
I just thought of that commercial where he's like, "This is getting dozens and dozens of views."
Oh,
the
yeah.
All-Star one.
They're getting more. They're getting more. This will be a good one.
All right. Viewplus Technologies. Yeah, we build tactographics and braille embossers so that kids and professionals can access information for using specifically in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
You're right.
So STEAM.
So when we're talking about you create these things and you build and manufacture, and we're literally on site. I just got a tour. It's a fantastic place. You're literally making them with bits and pieces, and that's how probably it started. And
Yep.
that's how it rolls, right?
Yeah, I mean we got to celebrate our 25th year during a pandemic, so we're in our 26th year now. And yeah, so it's been started off pretty slowly and has grown. A lot of it was initially funded by grants.
Sure.
And now we are a actual for-profit. For a while we were a not-for-profit, not on purpose.
Oh, right. So I mean, and we're literally talking about like pardon me for sounding simplistic, but I guess it's a compliment to say it's so simplistic. I mean, you're literally creating the braille right from the printers, right out of, and we're talking images. We're talking, we saw some maps, we saw a skeleton, King Tut, those types of things. Where did that all come from?
Yeah, it's hard to always refine it down to exactly what you can do.
Yeah,
there's so much you could do.
Well, because I'm sure, like me, most people think, oh, braille is just words, right?
And that's what it still is. Even professionals in that area still think of braille as just words, and they don't even think about mind blown, right? And it's like, well, we've only been doing this for 25 years,
right?
So it started as my dad went blind as a physics professor at OSU.
Yep.
He was 48 years old. I was in college. And went in for an operation at OHSU and came out blind.
Not great.
Couldn't figure out how he was going to do physics anymore.
Yeah.
Right. He looked at data and saw patterns in data. Having someone describe that to him required someone to be as smart as him, which that's difficult to find anybody that knows as much about that area of physics and knows what he knows. So
and there was no sort of blindness. There was no sort of. It was just surgery, boom, next day blind.
Correct.
So this wasn't a kind of, hey, I'm planning for the future. In a few years, I'm going to lose my eyesight.
No.
It was like, tomorrow.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a very safe operation for glaucoma. And he'd already had lost eyesight in one eye as a child in Mississippi. But so it was basically one eye left that was fully functional and in one day and gone the next.
And that's obviously life-changing for anyone, but then to come, especially like you mentioned, in his job as a physics professor, suddenly now he's got to figure out a way to, I mean, I don't even know how you sort of, you do a quote-unquote regular job, let alone that type of level of understanding and stuff. So
yeah, well, luckily he was a world-renowned researcher, so
he had some contact.
So he kind of just looked around and had asked people questions, and I actually met him in Germany and looked at some different technologies at the time because he had very good relationships going back and forth to Germany for his physics work. Sure. So we looked at a lot of different technologies, but I was had just gotten married and was just getting started with my life. And, so I kind of lost touch of what happened, and they had this idea for doing this tactographics embosser, and so the Tiger embossers is what they got nicknamed, which was my dad came up with, which was tactographics image embosser. Oh, okay. And everyone knows us as the Tiger people. Okay,
that's where the name comes from. All right.
So it was the one thing that stuck. Viewplus, they still think we sell window shades or computer monitors or something else, but.
And there are a few, obviously there's going to be some differences between a regular printer and that, but one of the things when we were talking back in the warehouse of it was fascinating was about your process that you came in, a couple of years ago or a year ago, about color, describing, and again, it's sort of that, it's the, how do you describe, how did you say, how do you describe the color green to someone that's never seen green?
Yeah, it's the refracted light of the what does that mean?
Yeah,
right?
I've never seen green.
So yeah, I mean, well, that was again part of the original concepts was how to differentiate different parts of a diagram, and we've always had this variable dot height image, and we decided to use that to show different colors. But we always would see if they're very subtle. Yeah. And if someone's not that tactily experienced, they may not be able to tell those differences. And
sure.
And I was, again, thinking about walking on the beach during the pandemic, thinking if I had kids that were blind and I wanted to try to describe how colors mix, and things like that. So that's where we always had fill patterns as well as these different dots. And I'm like, wait, if we could do patterns that map to colors, then you could come up with patterns that would be mixes. So if like blue and yellow makes green, well, if blue is diagonal and this way and yellow is diagonal this other way, and you mix them together, that makes green.
Right.
Well, then you could actually teach color mixing and have color patterns and say like, well, this image has a green circle on it. They go, oh, I know what that is, right? Once they learn that we consistently map to the same color.
And that's obviously green in their mind, what they know as green. But again, it enhances their experience.
Or you think about it, the whole thing is about trying to use off-the-shelf content that's already out there. Yeah. So if you're downloading a pie chart from a journal article or from a magazine article or from the internet anywhere, right? And it happens to say the blue square, it doesn't say, or the blue column of the bar chart or the pie chart or whatever, right?
Right.
Well, how do you know which one that is?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so the words are describing the diagram, and the diagram is using color, and if you just printed it out, now it's a gray, you've got maybe a different dot, but how do you know what that is? So that was the idea of like making them more recognizable, so that you wouldn't have to then have some of the, well, which one's the blue, which one's the green,
right?
Color. And so again, trying to, as I say, remove the seeing eye human from the equation.
And it's fascinating. Oh, and the other part which blew me away was, I'm like, oh man, so you got to get some massive like software program to do this on your computer, or you got no. I mean that's my favorite story of the pandemic. My favorite story of the pandemic was a mother wrote. So Miranda wrote in from Texas saying, your products have been a godsend. You can see the whole, I can't remember the whole quote, but I was not a Braille specialist. My daughter was 8 and struggling with homeschool. And we found your products. They're so simple for me to use. I just can go into Word. I can convert the text into Braille. I can print graphics directly. I just hit print like I would on every other printer, and it takes care of everything else for me. And so not only have I figured it out, but she's flourished at home even better than when she was at regular school, because I'm able to devote more time to her. Yeah. And she said, yeah, and by the way, and so I was like, wow, what a great testimonial. Well, and like, Dan's literally not kidding. It's if you can do Word and Excel and create whatever you said, create a pie chart, you now have it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, my favorite examples are like going on and download online image. It used to be called clip art. Now it's like online. Insert online image. Right. Bart Simpson cartoon. Get a picture of him, drop it down in there, hit print. And like people are like, oh my gosh, because then they see the cartoon colors, they're nice high contrast. It really does elaborate what you can do. Like, describe what Bart's hair looks like, right? All the jaggedy stuff on top, right? How would you describe that to somebody? Or someone's, if they have a coat of arms or a school flag or their Lego Robotics Club logo, right? All those things, you can just drop them in and hit print, or just hit print, from your phone even, right? We have support for mobile and tablets. So
and again, so we talk about the world that people who can't see, the blind. If it's also, I imagine, using the example of Miranda, or in a school, you're able to print Braille, whether it be words, image, whatever, on paper and ink as well. And so now, just from a sheer acceptance standpoint and a big picture holistic view, now kids in classrooms get the same. They can get the same piece of paper. It's not like, here's your special blind stuff.
If only it were that. If only it were that easy. But that is the goal, right? If only it were that easy. Is that you still have a lot of people that go to residential blind schools because they do have up on the technology. But the more mainstream globally, the trend is to be able to, one, not only have dual use stuff, but also have it be ready quicker, right? That's kind of our focus. Is most everything is about creating something special for the blind student. It requires a team of people. Then they get out in the real world
Oh yeah.
They don't have a team of people anymore.
Yeah, they're on their own.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where we're trying to show, like, you can do this. You can also teach the blind kid how to do it, or or an assistant or a parent, or their peers at school. So I mean, that's really what we're hoping, is that to get this as a movement. And that's kind of like our latest stuff, is where now we can even take a PDF and be able to separate out the text onto the ink layer, the graphic onto the ink layer, the braille onto the tactile layer, and the graphic on the tactile layer. So you can and auto apply those pattern fills for the colors at the PDF level. So you can take an off-the-shelf thing, and braille is just a font, so you can go into a PDF editor in Word and save it as a PDF and send it to anybody and have it work with any of our printers. And so there's a lot of existing PDF material for the older technologies like swell paper.
Sure.
So there's a lot of it. Trying to use all the existing content is really, I guess, what we're trying to do. Most of it doesn't have a lot of color in it, because it's all kind of grayscale stuff. But also being able to use just off-the-shelf things.
So without giving away trade secrets or anything, where does this go? What does the next 5, 10, whatever, 15 years look like in your world?
Well, I guess.
Part of it was obviously what you just described, right?
Yeah, we're executing on some of that strategy, right? Of like really shifting from. For the longest time, we were getting grants to create more materials, right? We were in that same boat of so many people, so many universities, so many places. They have to spend tons of money creating the special content.
Yeah, right.
And we're like, this is a losing game.
Yeah, because you're just cranking out.
Yeah, so how could we look at what's out there and make it, and rather than trying to make every single website be compliant, right? How do we make it easy that they'll want to do this? That was my challenge in 2015 when I came in, is I don't want to tell people they have to do this by law. I want them to see that it's easy enough, but why wouldn't they want to do this? Why wouldn't they want to cater to this part of the population? Why wouldn't we want to make it possible for kids not to have to opt out of math and science just because they happen to be blind and can't access the materials like their other friends? So how do we make it easy? And then there's no no-brainer to do it. So that the PDF thing's been just released now this summer, so it's still, but we're hearing great reviews of that. That is another level of simplification. We're releasing new products. We're adding some, not everyone's fully blind either. They may be extremely low vision. That's where if we can expand our ink offerings to do more large format, large print, high contrast colors, then they might be low vision where they can see the shapes but they can't read the words. So they might be a braille reader but could use the shapes, and so again, other ways of using the color or the ink in addition, because again, that's our uniqueness too, is we do all this all in one.
I'm sure it's got to be, there's some element to what you're doing down in Southtown, and just there's got to be an element of you're cranking out things and you're making things, and there's a sort of the day-to-day aspect, right? But I don't even know how to phrase it, but it's kind of like you're like changing lives.
Yeah, well, that's
literally.
Yeah, and that's the part that, again, it's been so great. Yeah, I'm taking this the Stanford leadership class. I'm just wrapping up right now. And the last segment through I'm a Vistage peer CEO group. Okay. And it's offered. It's
pretty fancy.
So it's the last segment is Power of Story.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
So this story about this great 8-year-old and her mother.
Yeah.
I went back in the class and I really appreciate that testimony. Tell me more about how Joyce is doing.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me, you didn't even tell me your name in the testimonial, right? Tell me how Joyce is doing. What's your daughter's name? Joyce. And she's like, well, tell her story. And she's like, well, that's interesting. You should ask that question. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
She sent me an ABC local news link.
Okay.
Turns out Joyce was a 3-year-old girl in China that was in an orphanage, neglected, and or maybe worse. Yeah. Miranda and her husband Nick had already adopted her 2 brothers. Nobody thought they would want this damaged girl.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. See, like that.
So they adopted her. She ended up having to have 5 operations. She didn't have irises, or and then not only did they do this homeschool thing and she started flourishing, But the result of that is she got so engaged, not only learning English and Braille, that she placed in the top 10 in 2021 in the National Braille competition.
See,
so
like
that's where the goosebumps come in. Testimonial was like, wow, that feels good for me.
Sure.
But how we're changing the world, that's
because it's easy to say, you know what, hey, down at Viewplus, sure, they make printers for the blind. Cool. But it's like, it just what you're doing just opens up. I mean, people watching this, I'm sure. Yep. You imagine if you can't see, well, like your dad, right? You just can't see how much of the quote unquote normal world that closes off to you, and you're changing that.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's pretty cool.
We're not changing it. I mean, again, I think a lot of it's the parents. I mean, the parents aren't settling, and really, it's the blind people, the ones that refuse to accept that.
Well, and right? I appreciate the humble. You know, I do appreciate the humble part, but you're playing quite a big part in that. Come on.
But you know, I guess the focus. Yeah, my dad is a hero inside of the how many blind people just gave up? Yeah, right? Would have just given up. And he created something, and he is changing the world out of this, and so I'm coming in, I'm just wanting to help.
Just don't screw it up.
I'm just wanting to expand that vision into maybe a little bit different, I guess have maybe a wider reach, and really explore some of these things of what we're actually doing, because it's like I've always enjoyed, like, as soon as my kids were born, I was the sports coach, the Lego robotics coach. I love being involved with kids and seeing them, and this has been a great outlet for me, as they're now 18 and 20, and my youngest is off to college at Western. So this gives me, like, okay, a 15-year-old's having trouble with linear algebra, blind, her mom's blind, she's blind, they call it for help. What better way could I spend my afternoon than kind of talking through this? And then I get to go invited to go to Philadelphia last year, and now I'm a speaker at the conference next month in Pittsburgh, and it's like, because I just took the time, and so it fills me up, but at the same time, you make a difference, and who knows, right? I just heard, this will probably be tape delayed because I don't think anybody else knows. But this girl is a phenomenal singer. Yeah. So she just got signed as a lead singer for a group in Pittsburgh.
Oh, right on.
So 16 years old now, I think. She was 15 when I first started telling the story. Now I think she's 16 and already got now a paying gig.
That's cool. That's so cool. One of the things that we do at Chamber Chat, obviously, is we want to talk about the business and the incredible work that's not just here locally, but that affects people all over the place. And you guys are obviously a prime example of that. But we also like to talk about the people behind the business. So, you cool talking about you for a little bit?
Sure.
I mean, it seems like you're off to a humble start, so I'm going to have to draw stuff out of you, I can see.
Yeah.
What's the favorite place you ever been?
Wow.
Yeah, these are rapid fire, man. These are hard-hitting interview questions.
Wow. I've been all over, but I still think my favorite place, if I had to pick one, is probably Crater Lake.
That's not bad. So
it's like walking back the boat launch to where you can dive off.
You went in it?
Yeah, you can dive off the rocks.
Okay,
cliff dive off the rocks over there. That's probably the most amazing experience that I can think of.
What about anywhere in the world, bucket list, somewhere you haven't been?
There's a split one, because I really want to go to South Africa and the safari, and I really want to go to Australia.
Oh yeah.
So I've been all over Europe and Asia. But
everything in Australia can kill you.
Yes.
Like literally everything.
Yeah, even the kangaroo will kick you in the face, right?
Yeah, even the cuddly little kangaroo. They're monsters.
The koalas. Really.
It's a terrible tourism ad for Australia, but you're likely to die if you go there.
Yes.
So obviously you've traveled a whole bunch. Let's talk about food. Favorite food. What's your plate look like on your if you could have one meal? Anything.
Yeah, especially now because I'm doing Met Pro thing. I've lost about 50 pounds, 60 pounds now.
Have you really?
So
right on.
I think Italy, going to, a big old family style Italian dinner,
pasta,
big old lasagna,
spaghetti.
big old lasagna pan. Like, that was my favorite part about going to Venice.
Would you cook it yourself, or if you got somebody else would do it, you just go out, or are you a big chef? Are you kind of a handy in the kitchen?
Yes, I pretty much. Well, I don't like the kitchen. I like the grill. So it's
okay.
Now this I'm basically going out. It's alternating between grilling petite sirloins or chicken breasts or salmon with the fresh zucchini. We've got a garden this year with lots of tomatoes, so we're doing lots of fresh grilled meats and vegetables.
What did you say it was? What was the program? What are you on? What are you doing?
MetPro.
MetPro. Is that like all meat, all sort of
it's
protein kind of deal?
It depends on body type, right? It started as an online thing for bodybuilders, but now it's expanded. So I have the concierge one where you have a coach. My wife's pissed because it was so expensive, but I'm like, if I can lose weight,
she'll be fine.
Like, yes,
she'll be fine.
But they have different online versions. But yeah, it's a scientifically based kind of metabolic. So it's like I tried the intermittent fasting on my own.
Yeah.
Lost some weight, but then it was kind of coming back.
Yeah.
And this one was about eating 5 of the right types of meals every day and tuning it to your body, that there's different types of body metabolism.
And you've lost 50 pounds? 50, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
Nice, man. Congrats.
So yeah, back to playing indoor soccer at the sports park.
Really?
Ready for ski season this year.
We gotta start getting hanging out more. That's why I love doing that as well. Down with Blake down there.
Yeah, they're our neighbors too. So.
Oh yeah.
And I went to school with Kim, his wife.
I know Blake years. I used to play for him way back when.
Well, then you predated me because Rick South. I grew up in Corvallis, so I was on Corvallis United when it first started back in whatever that was, mid '80s. So.
Dang, nice. What about something you'd never eat again? The worst thing you've ever eaten? Or are you kind of like, no, I don't mind anything?
I know they always try to get me with, like, in Korea with the stinky tofu, and I eat everything. I'm trying to think of, like, what, there's nothing.
Not an oyster is kind of a standard.
Oysters.
Oh, really? Okay.
And more like, it's like the squash with, like, brown, I don't know if it's brown sugar or squash, right? It's like, there's kind of the
squash?
Well, those, like...
I know what you mean.
When they put the brown sugar and butter on it, there's something about that I just hate. I don't know.
I think you might be the first person who said they don't like squash.
I like zucchini, right? Not overcooked, grilled.
It's like the same thing almost.
But it was that acorn squash thing where it's all kind of mushy and it's like it's stringy and.
Is it a texture thing?
I think so. That's like as I tell myself, I've got some texture issues.
Like I've got a few things going on psychologically. Well, that's cool. When you're eating your steak and your salmon and you're having a good time, you're chilling out at home and everything. What type of music are you gonna put on?
Oh man.
You have a favorite band or a style or what are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of. I mean, again, I like a lot. Well, you can look at my YouTube super mix. It tends to have a lot of Phil Collins, Genesis, Rush. But
more of like that 80s, late 80s, 90s.
Well, I like the alternative stuff too that came out 80s, 90s. So the grunge rock, and I like and the heavy metal stuff too. Okay. I just have to tone it down when it's in the car because it's usually not just me there. Yeah, I mean I like Metallica.
A few choice words occasionally.
I used to do school rock when the kids were in preschool. I didn't want my wife's the country. I can't even say music. She likes but so it's like I got them into Linkin Park and Green Day and that kind of stuff and Puddle of Mud and all that kind of stuff. So,
it sounds like you feel the same way about country music that I do.
Well, we finally did get to go to Kenny Chesney though. July 15th, and of course I came back with COVID.
He's the tank top guy.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
The little short bald guy.
Yeah. Another ringing endorsement. Australia and country music. Sorry, we're out.
Yeah,
we're both out. That's not going to work. If you could sit down, have a meal with somebody famous, who would it be? Someone who's alive.
Nothing even jumps to my mind about that.
Really? You're not a big like celebrity guy. You don't have to be a celebrity. You could be.
No, I was like, yeah, who'd be more interesting to talk to?
Or somebody dead. Could be somebody dead.
Not even. Yeah, I'm like, I think. I guess on the pure just entertainment value, I think it'd be interesting to sit down with Stephen King. I read so many of his books as a kid, just to see like where did that come from, right?
Like what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. I've read some of the interviews and things like that, so that would be kind of interesting. On another, I mean, that's so tough because it's like I'll sit down with anybody. It's like, talking to people at NASA about space flight, discoveries, global warming, scientific stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I guess if I was thinking Stephen King,
but that's not a bad dinner guest.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Stephen King's pretty good. Hey, so as we wrap up here with the, obviously, we've alluded to it a couple of times, COVID has been, I wouldn't say the last 2 years has been fun for anyone, really, right? There's a lot of, I think we can safely say it's been a pretty crappy couple of years. However, silver lining wise, professionally and personally, what's something good that you've got out of COVID or out of the last couple of years?
Yeah, I feel bad saying it because I know so many people did suffer and lost loved ones, but
sure,
I mean, it ended up being like a perfect timing for us because again, it meant that I couldn't go anywhere, so I didn't have an excuse to go travel and be busy.
So you had to like focus.
So we really focused, and again, all we've needed, we've had now. This is our third year of in the black in a row, and getting PPP and SBA
win,
money, right? Getting $1.7 million of cheap money has allowed us to invest in new products. So that's what I'm saying. In the next year, you will see the benefit of what we've done. So, yes, I mean, we came through it stronger and also closer knitted group. So, yeah, personally, I'm an introvert, so I kind of like not going anywhere. And so I've just been hiking in the trails, and it's actually nice that it's opened back up again because now there's not as many people clogging the trailheads by my house.
Right. No, that's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, no, I think other than just kind of weird, I haven't been able to get over to visit some of the people. Like China's still locked down, so I can't get over there, and I haven't really left the U.S. for 2 or 3 years.
Well, that's good. That's a good silver lining. That's good. It allows you to focus a little bit more. It allows you to do some things. You're doing some amazing work out here, and we're definitely gonna figure out a way to get people, to sometime come out and you got to see their place out there. It's well, first off, it's enormous, but just what you guys are cranking out in little old Corvallis, this little corner of the world, it's fantastic. So if people want to get a hold of you, obviously you're out on Airport Road down in Southtown, but how do they get a hold of you if they got questions, or they were like, hey, I want to know more about this, or this is something I can use? How do they do that?
I always answer my emails, so dan.gardner@viewplus.com. If you want to really chat, you can go to our webpage, and you can see about us, and there's a schedule 30 minutes with Dan up on there. So I put that up on the website because I just get a lot of people now that want to just talk about what we're doing. You go to our website, you'll email us in, or LinkedIn. I tend to stay away from Facebook anymore, but LinkedIn I'm at least monitor. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I even call and people get me. Although most of the time, you want to email me, you'll have my cell phone number. You'll know how to get a hold of me. Because I'm never sitting at my desk. Right. I'm getting those steps in.
And on a quick side note, quick shout out. There's an amazing article. This is what are we looking at here? We're September 14th now. It's probably late August. Fantastic article in the Corvallis Advocate. About Dan and about Viewplus and all the amazing work they're doing. So, hey man, I want to thank you for being a part of this. Super cool.
Do I get one shout out too? Because because Benton County Economic Development and the Chamber, right during the pandemic, you guys delivered PPP or what is it?
What was it?
Personal protection, whatever.
Oh, the PPE. I thought you meant PPP. Okay,
well, that too. Let us know all about. We were the first in line at the Oregon Credit Union, or the State Credit Union, for PPP.
Right.
But the masks and the sanitizer and then the SBA loan stuff. I mean, again, keeping us in the loop. I just had my parents sitting on those web pages and click and submit.
No, it's you guys are doing amazing work out here, and it's a pleasure to have you here in Corvallis and see some of the work you're doing. we will see you guys on the next episode of Chamber Chat. See you later.
Bye.